self-sabotage is like a game of mental tug and war. It is the conscious mind versus the subconscious mind, where the subconscious mind eventually wins. I'm going to talk more about self-sabotage. Are you a self-sabotager? Most people in some way can be. It just depends on the category, right? Like, it depends on the area. You know, they could be very successful in one area and in another area not so much. But we're talking about overall, because as an overall person, if you're a self-sabotager, that can be very dangerous and actually leads to depression, anxiety, and all of these other things that sometimes we're not even aware of where that comes from and why. So a great quote here, it's self-sabotage is like a game of mental tug and war. It is the conscious mind versus the subconscious mind, where the subconscious mind eventually wins. The subconscious coming from the place of self-worth, which ties back to that inner coach and that inner voice. So we're going to talk, what are 3 steps to stopping that self-sabotage, right? From a simplistic standpoint, what are 3 things we can do to stop that self-sabotage without going into too much depth? Being aware that we have an inner self-sabotager in the first place is a good place to start. I myself had a massive fear in my life always of success, if I'm honest. So even though I've been massively successful in many areas by definition of what other people would define success, my version of success was always self-sabotage. Getting over the finish line of things was difficult, because that's when self-sabotage would come, that I'm not good enough, which is internalized in the inner voice, so in particular areas. Why? Tied back to my self-worth. What areas are you self-sabotaging in, and why? So a lot of people I see, it's, you know, it could be, and this is why I don't necessarily believe in diets, right? Because, you know, I see this a lot of times, right? So we go, okay, this is the diet that I'm going to follow, and this is what I have to be on. So as soon as you're outside of that diet, right, out of those things, the self-talk, I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I can't stick to something, I'm having these cravings, what's wrong with me? Other people can follow these diets, I can't, what, blah, 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 blah. The self-talk is so damaging, when really maybe your body's missing out on certain nutrients that it needs to have, and, you know, by restricting certain things, it's brought up chemical imbalance in the body. Like, there could be other things going on, but because your self-talk is negative, that's what it's focused on. So then you're feeling like a failure and a self-sabotager, and then that leads to that cycle of self-abuse. So where are you sabotaging yourself? And that can be a very difficult thing to recognize, for sure. So what would you do? We'll start journaling and documenting the times where you think that self-sabotage is coming up. What goals have you set in your life over and over again that you seem to not be able to achieve? You know, weight is a good example, because like in my past, I've had a lot of clients and a lot of people who have struggled on myself and on ups and downs and everything all over the place with a lot of self-talk. But so that could be one of the examples, or career, or different things, right? Like, you can't get over the finish line in your goals because you self-sabotaged. Maybe you weren't even aware that is self-sabotage. But I want you to, so what are some of the things that you can do? So the first thing I want you to do is journal and be aware. Where am I self-sabotaging? What have I not crossed the finish line of goals that I've had in my life? Why? So start documenting that, because the second stage of that is creating empowering new beliefs. That would be the time you would review and go back and look, and this is the thing that people usually stop to when it comes to self-help work, right? Okay, then let me just put this all over the place, and then, you know, don't review it. I did that a lot too. Or I buy a self-help book, I start some of it, and then I don't finish it. So I love the video therapy that we do in the courses and the coaching and the training, is because you're really going into a much more in-depth look at yourself, which is very challenging. However, it is very effective. But reviewing that, so it could be just starting journaling, rereading, that could be a thing, or okay, I'm aware of it, but I want you to go back, then going back and empowering those beliefs. Okay, this is where I was self-sabotaging, this is what I was doing, where did that come from? Oh, this is where that self-talk was, and why. And then the next step to that would be to make change happen with action. Okay, I'm aware now, this is where I was self-sabotaging. I've reviewed it, I can see that now it's time to take action on how to correct it. So going through those 3 steps. This is where, I recommend, obviously, because if you're going and talking from a therapy component to change the whole mindset, well, there's full in-depth programs, because that's not going to work on a surface level. However, when it comes to basic things, basic little things, this is a really good start that you can play with. So what area of your life would you say right now you're recognizing as being a self-sabotager in? So examples of this, there's 3 main categories: health, wealth, and relationships. Health, wealth, and relationships. You might be extremely successful in your career, and then when it comes to romance or different things, you struggle, or you're an exceptional parent, and then but then your career suffers, and then you're like, so what area are you struggling in most right now due to self-sabotage? Probably worth a lot more than you give yourself credit for. Or if you're not comfortable saying that, say, yeah, I'm aware that I'm a self-sabotager in a particular area that I don't want yet to mention.